You'll know the tree by its fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And this was really helpful when I was dating because I so badly wanted a guy to show me that he was going to be a great leader in that way and going to be a really strong man of God, but the fruit wasn't there.
Welcome back to Gen Z Unplugged. We are so excited to be here with you all again today. We have a great topic that I think a lot of our listeners are going to love to hear about. Are all the good guys taken? And is there any out there left?
Such a good question, and we hear it so much from the young women that we work with. We work with pretty much exclusively Gen Z women, and on their campuses, they kind of have just decided that all the good guys are taken, and that the guys who are left are just not up to their standards. And we hear a lot that they're just not normal. So normal has kind of become like the bare minimum for young women. So you see them lowering their standards a lot. And then you see some young women who maybe just need to redefine their priorities. So we're excited to get into it, to talk about all things dating, relationships, and kind of just share our experiences as well.
Yeah, especially with the normal thing. I've heard that so much. I've heard it from my friends. I've seen it. I haven't graduated that long ago. Like on college campuses, some of the guys just aren't normal. And so when a girl finds a normal guy, they're like, oh, this is like normal, so I must fall in love with him. This is perfect. He's normal. But normal is not perfect. Normal isn't the standard. Normal should just be the starting point.
So true.
Yeah,
it really is
it's so
true.
funny.
Yeah.
And then you think about young women and young men too. We want to address young women, but we know there's issues obviously on both sides. But sometimes they really just need to reprioritize and redefine what a good guy is. So I know that I'm married. Catherine is actually recently engaged.
So excited.
And Rachel is single.
Yeah.
But that's her decision because, you know, she always has guys chasing after her. But yeah, so we're excited to kind of share our experiences and kind of go through all the things that we think are really, really important and what to actually look for in a guy. So Rachel, would you start us off?
Yeah, of course. So we kind of just wanted to address 4 major points of what girls should be looking for in their guys these days and what are the most important things. So we kind of compiled a list for you all of what we think is most important. And so we're just going to go ahead and share those. So I think the first one that we discussed was faith and morals. We obviously think that's very important. I think the moral code should be the exact same. I don't think there's a lot of wiggle room there at all. Simple things like what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a man, definition of just basic things. When does human life begin? Things like that. So that's definitely a good starting point that I think you and your partner need to agree on.
Yeah, and another one along with the first major thing that's important is your faith, because that is something that has so much significance on people's personal life. It really defines who they are and their core beliefs. So being able to agree on the major spiritual things that you believe in that makes you who you are is fundamentally essential, because you want a man to be the spiritual leader of your relationship. He should make you a better person, because we hear so much today, especially like when I was in high school and college as well. They're like, you just make me a better person. And it's like, yeah, that's great. I'm so happy that I make you a better person, but like, I want to feel that reciprocated. I want you to make me a better person. I don't want to be holding up these standards for you to reach. I want you to take that bar and I want you to raise it for yourself, because you respect the woman so much. You respect your, girlfriend, where you want to see her succeed and be the best spiritual, flourished person that she can be. And it's essential for them to be able to be that spiritual leader and lead you in the right direction, because at the end of the day, that is going to be what your relationship is built upon.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. I cannot overestimate how important that is, how important it was when I was dating my husband and now in marriage, what a humongous role that plays. It really is your foundation. And one thing that I do think is important to address that young women really struggle with is, how do I know if he's going to be spiritually mature in our relationship? Because dating, there should be certain boundaries there. I mean, I don't think you should, start doing Bible studies every week with the guy you've been dating a couple months. So what do you all think about that? How are there ways to determine if a guy is going to be a great, spiritual head of your household without crossing those boundaries?
Yeah, I think one of the first things to look for is if he's just a good leader in general. Like, is that even in him in other aspects of his life? I think that's a good way to look at that. And then just how seriously he takes his faith. Like, does he talk about it candidly with you or with other friends and people? Is he in a Bible study maybe before you started dating it? Does he take that seriously? I think that's one of the main things to look for.
And I also think how he acts too plays a very big part in it. How do you see him acting with his friends? How do you see him acting with your family, your parents, his mother? Does he take it on himself? And like you said, before you guys get into a relationship, seeing what has he already been doing, because you don't want someone when you get into that relationship to start putting on a facade of, oh, well, you're spiritual and religious, like I'm just going to do these things because, you're looking for that and I want to be that person you're looking for. So they just do actions. Actions are separate than intention and words. Like, how is he actively living out his life, decisions that he makes, how he speaks about people in a good, morally good way, or is he very negative and is it a gossiping type of way? So I think there's a lot of key things that you can look at just besides, oh, he goes to church or he's in that Bible study. How does he actually actively live out his spiritual life?
Yeah, it makes me think of that Bible verse. It's in the Gospels somewhere. I don't know exactly, but it's, you'll know the tree by its fruit. And this was really helpful when I was dating, because I so badly wanted a guy to show me that he was going to be a great leader in that way and going to be a really strong man of God, but the fruit wasn't there. And I had just a great counselor tell me, like, hey, you'll know a tree by the fruit, and if the fruit isn't there, that is clear. And so that's why when I started dating my husband, it was so clear so quickly. I got to actually observe him be a Bible study leader. He was the MC for our large group ministry events. He was making videos, staying up till 3 a.m. for the ministry. There was obviously a level of commitment there that I just didn't see in other people. So I think, like you're saying, those actions, the tangible reality really demonstrates what his heart actually worships.
I agree, yeah. And that's something so special, because that was the first time I actually saw it with my fiance now, is when we first started talking and when we were first friends, he made me want to be a better person because of his actions and how he was living out his spiritual life. Yeah. And that was something so special and something that came to realization. I was like, wow, that is so cool. And I totally appreciated that from him. But I also think there's other, core values that are so important, like family. And I know you have some things related to that.
Yeah, values is definitely a huge thing. I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually the second point that we were going to talk about. And you touched on it a little bit when you said family, because how he treats his mom, his sisters, even his brother and his dad, does he respect them? That's a huge thing. Respecting the people he loves, because if he says he loves you, he should be respecting you, and he obviously should love people in his family. Obviously, not everyone comes from a perfect family situation, so that I think is good to address too. Just because a guy has a iffy family situation, or maybe it's not the most ideal, doesn't mean you shouldn't date him. But it is nice when you get to see that he respects the people that has brought him up, is proud of where he came from, proud of where he's going, that sort of thing. I think family values is extremely important.
Yeah, so true. And friends too. I think it's easy to say, oh, he has goofy friends, or his friends are a bunch of bros. But you mentioned this the other day. Who do you want standing next to you on your wedding day, and what do his friends say about him? Because no matter what, you will become more like the people you spend the most time with. So if he's spending all of his times with guys who you just don't really respect and aren't going very far in life, then it is basically guaranteed that he's going to be going down that path as well. So I think family, I think friends, those are really important values that you should definitely be aligned with too.
Yeah, I agree. And along with valuing too, a man of his word, not being flaky, someone who lives by what they say, not someone who just is going to love bomb you at the beginning, make you feel really good, but then at the end of the day doesn't follow through, cancels, doesn't, show up when he needs to, because a man of his word is always going to follow through, and you're going to be able to see that from the beginning.
Yeah, no, I think that's so true. And I don't know, I think a lot of Gen Z women have fallen have fallen for guys who love bomb. I think that's a very, very big thing. And, it's really, really easy to send a really cute text. But if a guy's doing that, the effort there is very minimal. Is he doing anything to back that up? Is he making you feel special when you're together? Or is he good at planning dates, good at that sort of thing? Because at the end of the day, a text is really easy to send.
Yeah. I think young women, we're really not to blame in a lot of ways for all of the issues that are plaguing the dating scene, but we do need to raise our standards a little bit and not just settle for someone who sends you a cute text or opens the door, which
the bare minimum.
Yeah, the bare minimum. I think it's easy to get kind of swept up in that, but someone who holds the door for you is not indicative of a guy who's going to support you when you lose your parents or tragedies in your life, what actually matters. And something that I think is really underrated when thinking about who to date or kind of analyzing if a guy is right for you is lifestyle. And this isn't a deal breaker, but it is super important. Do you have the same idea of what fun means? Is his idea of a relaxing vacation, biking 10 miles, then hiking up a mountain, then swimming, and getting home at 3 a.m. and it's your idea of a fun vacation sitting on the beach all day, those things are going to be at odds, and you are going to spend every holiday, vacation, weekend with this person, and it definitely makes things a lot easier if you have the same definition of what it means to have fun.
Yeah, I had never thought of that before until we were talking about this yesterday. I think in the back of my head, I was like, oh, lifestyle is, important, but I never actually pinpointed every Saturday, like you said, all the vacations, all the holidays. And yeah, I think lifestyle matchups, it just makes life easier. Prevents, burnout if you have the same sort of idea of fun.
Yeah. And another thing along with lifestyle I think is very interesting, the topic of cohabitation before marriage. There's a very interesting stat that we found. The Institute for Family Life Studies found that in 2023, couples that live together before marriage are 48% more likely to divorce than couples that don't. And I think that's very interesting because that's almost half of couples that live together before marriage get divorced.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
And what makes this even more shocking is that 70% of couples do live together before they're married, despite that statistic. So what is going on there? I know, Rachel, you had a couple points about this.
Yeah, I think partially it's more convenient, right? It's very easy you love your boyfriend and it's just easy and you want to spend time with him, so you might as well live together. That's how a lot of, I think, the logic goes in young women's minds. Also, I've seen this with a lot of my friends. Some people go through college and they only hang out with their boyfriend, and then they don't have girlfriends that they can be roommates with afterwards. And then one of the things that goes along with convenience is just the financial. It's easier. A lot of people coming straight out of college have some debt, but I think as soon as you start going down that road, a lot of things start meshing, which is good when you're married. A lot of things, that's what's supposed to happen.
Right.
But you start getting, a car together and you share a car, you start getting a dog. A lot of your financials just start mixing at that point. And then a lot of young women are in the point, or men too, they're like, oh, I actually don't want to marry this person, but now I can't get out, so I might as well. And I think that has to do a lot with the standards that are lowering.
Yeah.
Because they're so deep into it that they feel like they can't leave.
Yeah, exactly. They're trapped.
Right.
They're trapped in that relationship. And a lot of people say that they want to live together and cohabitate before marriage because they're seeing it as a test drive, which actually, the reason for a test drive is to see if you want to return the car, which is not a starting place that I think of a lot of relationships want to start from, to see if you want to get in a relationship and live with someone, and then you're going into it, in a sense of, well, I'm just testing it to see if I just want to return it.
Yeah. I know. It makes it feel really gross when you think of it in that way. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it seems really convenient. It seems financially smart, but the statistics don't lie that it genuinely does coincide with divorce a lot more. And I can say that moving in with my husband after we get married was like the best thing ever, because I knew that we were going to be together forever, and every little thing I did that could have annoyed him wasn't going to make him break up with me. I feel like that would give me so much anxiety if I was living with a guy, dating him, and just concerned, like, oh, is the fact that I leave my towel on the floor mean he doesn't want to marry me anymore? It's like these little things that would not be a big deal in marriage that you would overcome in marriage are almost like deal breakers when you're dating. So it is not at all something helpful. It just makes the small things feel a lot bigger, and I think would create a lot of anxiety in young men and young women who are living together.
Yeah. And I think there's ways to simulate, what your relationship is going to look like after marriage, or this test run. There's ways to do that without living together. And I know we spoke about this a couple days ago. One being, if their family goes on a vacation, or, going with them and seeing how that would look like, or staying in separate rooms. There's ways around it. And there's ways, cooking together. How do you guys like doing that in the kitchen, or, cleaning up after each other? People are so worried, oh, is he a dirty person? Go hang out with his friends and see what it's like there. I mean, yeah, maybe it's dirty, but that doesn't mean that's what it's going to look like during marriage.
And Rachel, I know you're kind of in the dating scene right now, and a question that a lot of young women have that I think I'd love to hear your opinion on is, how important is it for you to be attracted to a guy? It seems like a crazy question to ask, but this is a concept in Christian circles. They say that you don't have to be attracted to your husband as long as he's a man of God. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think attraction is absolutely necessary. I think it's essential. God willing, if I do get married someday to somebody, I want to be attracted to the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. Like, if he's walking around the house, I want to be like, oh, look, that's my man. That, all those cute things. Like, I want to be attracted. And a lot of people use the analogy of the human hand. Like, attraction is the pinky on the hand. Like, it's not the most important thing, but it's still on the hand. Like, you still need it to do things. And even though it's a little finger, it is still there. So I think, you touched on this. I think in the Christian circles, there is an idea of, if he does all the right things, then you don't need to be attracted. I disagree with that. I think it's needed. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, obviously there's the extremes on either side are both bad. Mm-hmm. I think that other girls have the expectation on attractiveness being way too high, or they'll have it as way further up on their list of things they want in a guy. It's like number one for them, when that's also not good. So they place it either too important, or they have these stereotypes for guys, like, oh, he has to be a country boy with a truck and know how to do things with his hands. He needs to be like a woodworker and be able to chop wood, and or the opposite, he needs to be a Hollywood model. He needs to, all these different stereotypes where they won't even go out with a guy if he doesn't meet those expectations. And I think that is also dangerous, because those are just not predictions of marriage. Like, you don't need a country boy or a Hollywood model when you said you're going through tragedy. Like, it's about more character in that sense too.
Just because he wears a flannel and chops wood doesn't mean he's going to be a good father to your children.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think a lot of it has been skewed for a couple of different reasons. Like, obviously there's those extremes, but then also biologically there's a lot of things going on along with the feminist extreme, and a lot of things that are being pushed on women nowadays, like the birth control pill. That has skewed a lot of women's vision on attractiveness in men. And Catherine, I know you had a statistic, or we were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very interesting. We looked at different stats and different articles that the NBC put out, FDA, CDC, and NIH, which are not conservative networks. But they say that women on the pill are more attracted to men with feminine facial features while they're on the pill. And so that when they get off of it and want to have a child with their husband, they're like, what? Who are you? Like, I'm not attracted to you at all. Like, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't want to have a child with you. Like, I'm not even attracted to you. They want a divorce. So it's just wild to see what that effect can have it can have on women and on your relationship.
Yeah, this study is unreal to me. I think it was in 2014 they did a study of these women and compared who they're attracted to. And like you said, the men who were a lot more feminine looking were the most attractive to the women on birth control. It's unreal. So it's no surprise that women do get to the point where, you know, they've been on birth control for 15, 20 years and they get off the pill because they want to start having kids. And they're like, ooh, my husband is just not good looking to me anymore. There are some really funny stories about when people were on birth control, like who their celebrity crush was.
Oh my goodness, I remember that.
Oh my gosh. So funny. Kind of like the guys that women were into while they were on the pill is kind of just wild to me. So we'll definitely dive more into birth control and contraceptives and kind of the story behind all of that. But yeah, that statistic is pretty crazy.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned something, I think yesterday about this. Like, when is it right for someone to break up with their, you know, boyfriend or girlfriend? Like, how do you know what the right time is, when the right time is, what major event needs to take place before you can do that?
Such a hard question. And I did a lot of dating in high school and college, and I ended with the best guy in the entire world. My husband is just the most amazing man. But yeah, there was some really tough breakups in there. And I remember being so indecisive. And I know, Rachel, like, we've talked about this a lot.
Yes.
Being so indecisive. Like, do I break up with him? Do I stay with him? And sometimes it actually was hard. It was unclear. But sometimes it was very clear. And my family was telling me to do it. My friends were telling me to do it. But I just had in the back of my head, oh, well, what if he turns it around? What if he ends up being great? And I kind of prided myself on the fact that I was like rooting for the underdog, that I wanted things to work out. And I think a lot of young women do this. They want to fix guys, and they think that it makes them feel good about themselves when they can help a guy turn around, which is a great quality. Like, we want to help people develop, but dating is not the time to do that at all.
Yeah, and I think something funny with that, what you mentioned was girls, you know, find this normal guy, but all these other aspects are off and they don't agree with some of them. But they're like, no, like maybe he'll turn his life around. Maybe he'll fix. Like, I have some crazy stories from some friends who, you know, one, she found out was an illegal immigrant. And at the end of talking for 3 months, like he needed a green card. You know, one was, you know, he was running for tax evasion. Another lied that he actually had a job, but just got laid off, you know, that month. So it's just wild. Like, some of these people can hide their true identity, but you can kind of pick up on certain things. But those are major things where once you find out about that, like, do you think that's a time where you should break up with them?
Yeah, I definitely do. But sometimes it is more subtle.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've all had experiences where it's not a guy telling you that he's evading tax fraud.
That's crazy.
But there are times when it's definitely more subtle.
Yeah, I think that the subtleness is kind of even harder for a lot of girls to get over, because a lot of times there's subtle things that normally it's not in the beginning of the relationship. If things are happening in the beginning, automatically cut it off. You should be in like the happy-go-lucky stage in the beginning. Nothing should be super, super hard. But a lot of times as relationships continue, as they grow more, a lot of times the guy starts showing his true colors. And not all of those colors are good. And a lot of girls end up in the situation where he's subtly introducing some things or not doing some things, one or the other. And it's bothering them, but again, it's not all the time. That happened I had a situation with that where it wasn't all the time. There was a lot of good times still when he was doing the subtle things. And it's hard because you can rationalize it in your head. Girls are very good at rationalizing. It's a gift we have. It's useful in some senses, but for this, it's not so good. And like you said, we just want to help and fix, or we don't pay attention to the smaller things as they're getting introduced. And yeah, I think the subtlety is it is harder. A lot of times it's easier when a guy has a big thing like that. It's like, oh, immediately cut off, you know, that's not good. But when it's smaller, it's a lot harder. That's a lot harder for a lot of girls. So
yeah, and I think listening to your gut, Listening to your
Huge.
intuition. Women's intuition is never wrong. If you have that whisper in the back of your head that you're trying to suppress, like, no, he's a great guy, but, oh, like, that's a red flag. And, oh, that's a red flag. Listen to that. And listen to your gut and listen to the people around you, because at the end of the day, like, you're going to know. Like, you'll know when you know. And I know it's an annoying thing to hear because your mom says it all the time. Your grandma says it all the time. Everyone married says it to you all the time. But it's actually true. Like,
It's so true.
You will just know, and there'll be no doubt in your mind. But yeah, listen to your gut. Listen to your intuition. You'll know when it's right to end things or to continue them on.
Yeah, I always think that if you do have that little inkling, even if the guy seems perfect in every way, but it's just not it for you, and that's fine. You don't have to feel bad that he's not the right guy for you. But something that I always tell young women is that if you are annoyed with everything he does, if the way he breathes, the way he walks, the way he sits bothers you, you don't actually like him and you need to break up with him. It's such a funny phenomenon, but young women get bothered by these little things and it's like they're getting the ick from everything. He's not it. And even if nobody else is bothered by it, he's just not it. Because what are you going to do? You're going to live your whole life with the ick?
Every time he breathes, you're just going to be like, stop.
It is not sustainable. That's the last we'll say about that. But yeah. Sometimes there are actually really big problems. And there is this really, really interesting study done by John Gottman, who's a clinical psychologist, and he specializes in marital stability and divorce. And he can predict whether a couple is going to break up within 5-10 minutes of meeting with them. And there are these 4 signs that predict that. So Rachel, I know you're going to give the rundown on those 4.
Yeah, he actually calls them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So this is the term that he gives for these 4 things that are particularly harmful in a relationship if your significant other does them a lot. If it's consistent. If he does them once or twice, you can kind of evaluate on your own, but these are 4 things to kind of take note if these are happening in your relationship. And the first one he says is criticism, which he specifically defines as attacking someone's whole character instead of pointing out a specific behavior that's maybe bothering you. Mm-hmm. So that's criticism.
Yeah, and the next one is contempt, which is this concept of feeling really superior to your significant other and being disgusted at everything they do, replying with sarcasm, eye rolling, or mockery. And this one is like particularly insidious, Gottman says. So yeah, definitely something to look out for as well. I mean, everybody does that a little bit. Like, I'm very sarcastic with my husband, but it's all in good nature. But if it were to turn into something like I'm trying to force my superiority over him, that's much bigger of an issue.
Yeah. And the third one is defensiveness. And he defines that as refusing to take any responsibility by playing the victim or counterattacking. So if you bring up something to him, hey, I just want to talk about this real quick. When you do this, it really offends me or it hurts me or whatever. And he turns it around on you saying, well, you're just oversensitive. You just think I'm just a horrible person, don't you? Like, if he reacts like that constantly every time you bring something up, that's something you should probably consider as well.
Yeah, and the last one he talks about is stonewalling, which I think is more of a term that maybe people aren't familiar with. And he defines stonewalling as either emotionally or physically sometimes just shutting down when you try to bring up something maybe deep or some conflict that you might have or just want to have a serious conversation. If your guy shuts down and can't handle that, then that's stonewalling. And if that can be even just by, if you're long distance, it can be like not texting, not calling, things like that. Or it could be in person where he just can't handle it.
And this one I think is actually really relevant for young women today because you're kind of constantly texting your significant other, which that's not necessarily healthy either. But because you're kind of in constant communication, it's really easy to just ghost someone, to stop talking to them completely. Like when our grandparents were dating, if the person was going to stonewall them, they were going to physically not be around them. But it's actually a lot easier for your boyfriend now to stonewall you because he can just stop texting you. And yeah, I do think this happens to young women a lot. And what is really scary about this one is that they have all the power in that situation. So, you know, if your boyfriend stops texting you, calling you, won't answer any of your calls, he feels like he has a lot more power because he's the one who's the victim. And we live in an upside down culture where victims are at the top. So the victim wins, and he can use his power to manipulate you because you're the one who's begging, and he's made you feel like you've done something terribly wrong when you probably haven't. So that one is I think really relevant for young women today.
Yeah, I mean, healthy communication is huge. Communication is a huge thing. If you can't communicate well with your boyfriend on big things or little things, that's a red flag in my opinion. Like, you need to be able to communicate with your significant other on, the little everyday things, and then for some of the bigger things. Because with every relationship, as it goes forward, and as it gets more maybe long term, you're going to have these conversations. And if you don't have those conversations, that's a problem too. But you should be, having these conversations before marriage, talking about a bunch of different things, all these things like value, family, faith and morals, lifestyle. You should be having these conversations. And if he doesn't respond well to those, or if he can't communicate well his intentions, then that's an issue too.
Yeah. And I also think another one is to listen to your family and those close to you. Like, if you don't have a good, strong family, then listen to the good friends that you have surrounding yourself, because when you're in a either toxic or manipulation, relationship, it's very hard to see that as the girl in the relationship, because you're like, I think of it as an analogy of a tornado. Like, when you're in it, you can't see out. But there's a lot of people on the outside that can see in and can see exactly what's going on. So make sure to listen to those people, and listen to your family, listen to your siblings, and listen to those people who have your best interests at heart, because it's very hard to step outside of that tornado and look from the outside in. But let's say, your family's like, you need to end this with this guy. He's not good. See all these things he's doing to you. And then once you end that relationship and look back in, you're like, wow, he was doing all these things. Like, how did I not notice this? But just make sure you listen to those people that have your back and have your best interest in mind.
Yeah, once the rose-colored glasses come off, things come a lot more clear. Yeah, you think back to all the relationships that have ended, and you're like, what was wrong with me? Like, why was I not able to see that? So it happens to everybody. I don't think it's something to be ashamed about, but just aware of. But all that to say, you should have fun. I mean, it shouldn't be torture to date someone. And especially if it's not fun in the beginning, then why would it be fun 10 years, 20 years down the road? So I think I am very much of the opinion that your spouse should be your best friend. And if you can't have fun together, then how are you ever going to get to that point?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people go on dates or get together with people who they think will change in the future. And I mean, that's kind of common now. A lot of people are talking about how you shouldn't wait for someone to change. If you're not happy now, like you said, you're not going to be happy later. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well. So
yeah, but there's no perfect formula, right? Like, we on Gen Z Unplugged can't tell you if you should break up your boyfriend, who you should date, who you should marry. You do have to trust your gut, and you can't add up all the good things and subtract all the bad things, and you get this perfect formula. You do have to trust yourself and pray and rely on God to guide you in the right direction. Yeah,
because you will definitely find the right guy in the right time. I always think about it like, it's very hard to find the right guy in the wrong time, but you'll find the right guy in the right time. Everything will just mesh perfectly together. But once again, thank you guys so much for joining us today on Gen Z Unplugged. We would love to kind of hear from you all, your funny dating stories. Has a guy ever tried to marry you because of a green card? So we'd love to kind of hear that. Put your comments down below. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on all of our social medias, Real Gen Z Unplugged, and we look forward to seeing you next time.